Definitely bombing.
All right. Let me change the thumbnail. Looks like we're live now. 1 second, viewers.
Oh God.
Here we go. Here we go. Okay. Welcome in to the Off-Brand Avalanche podcast. Coming off of a 3-2 win, big win for the Avalanche. Also very big that they got it done in regulation. Lots to talk about tonight. Lots of things came out of this game. Lots of things went well. A couple things didn't go so well, but all in all, at the end of the day, boys, it's time for some victory shots.
It is. It's been 2 weeks in the making for this one.
Yes, this has waited too long. All right.
Whew.
So, first things first. Well, I guess last things first. Let's talk about that ending.
Yeah.
The biggest thing, like, not only was it incredibly exciting to watch to win a game like that off a last minute go ahead goal, it was very, very big that we didn't let Vegas get that point and get it into overtime. And Marshall texted me halfway through the third period
Yeah.
after Vegas scored. All he said was, "We can't let them take this to overtime." And I think Nazem Kadri read your text, Marshall, because he didn't let Vegas take this one to overtime.
I am the reason that the Avs won this game in regulation. I texted everyone I know. Everyone that I text when the Avs games are going on. Zach's, I don't text him because he sits right next to me. But Karim and my dad, it's like, dude, we can't let this go to overtime. And we didn't. And Kadri, he is my superhero for tonight.
Yeah, he seems to have a knack for those like last second goals at this point.
Yeah, the
That's
Blues
two
game.
big ones, honestly.
Yeah, it huge goals, dude. I mean, is it just Sod and Kadri at this point that is running that second line, because Berkey goes to that top line, and all of a sudden the second line with Sod and Kadri reunited looks like one of the best second lines in the league again.
I think it helps that Donskoy has played well the last two games. You know, he was probably the best player on that second line in the last game, and in today's game, he was great again. You know, on that Sod goal, he made a nice little pass straight through two guys to give Sod the chance, and Sod did a great job to bury it. But man, Kadri and Sod starting to get their groove going together.
Yeah.
A lot to like about what the Avs
And
are doing right now.
touching on Donskoy real quick, it's that acquisition in last year's free agency market. Donskoy was supposed to come in and be our second line winger, and with his play last season and the acquisitions that we've made over the off season, he's kind of got pushed down to that third line. But I think it's kind of fair to expect him to jump into that second line role and produce and play like a second liner on most teams at least.
I definitely agree with that. He's got the speed for that role, and he can jump up into the first line too. Like we've seen, not long term, but in short spurts, he can do that if he just needs to fill a role. Donskoy is definitely a good player, and he's one of the overlooked ones on the Avs roster.
Yeah, I think
Yeah, I
he's your
think
classic middle six forward. You know, he's
Hmm.
very, very good on a third line. If you've got him on your second line, you're still feeling pretty good about that. And he's not quite on the level of Assad, where you're like, okay, this guy's pretty much playing in every team's top six. But for a lot of teams, he could play in a top six. And when we've got a guy out in our top six, he's a very, very nice little fill-in piece.
to be honest, he could probably play on a top line on a lot of teams, especially the play that we saw him produce last year. Not necessarily like the upper echelon teams, but Donskoy
On
has some
Detroit.
talent.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
what I was
on
about to
Detroit,
say.
he would be a first liner. He would be a first liner on Detroit. But not on the upper echelon teams. But he's perfectly reliable to jump into that second line role and produce as he should be. I think he's another kind of one of those players, a bit like a Jost, that he plays better with the better talent that surrounds him. And we've seen that for the last couple of seasons that he's been with us.
Yeah, he hasn't been perfect, but he's been very good at times, and in the last 2 games especially, I feel like he's hit his stride a little bit this season, and I'm excited to see where it takes him. So, thrilled with that. This is going to be a hype cast, so I want to get our one downside out of the way first. Let's talk about the power play, because special teams almost cost us this game, and we're now 12 in a row, 0 for 12, 0 for our last 12 on the power play. It took a hit without Makar, but I think that the real issue here is it's so static. Once we get into the offensive zone, given that we can set it up, because that was an issue today as well, couldn't even get it set up in the offensive zone. But we like to have our D-man standing at the top, and we've got our 2 guys standing on the top of the circles. We are not cycling those guys. We're not making teams think. We're not mixing them around. You know, when we were scoring, we were saying Cale Makar skate down the wall, leave a little drop for McKinnon, have McKinnon at the point. Things like that. Those little cycles up top are what's kind of get some guys out of position, gets you some opportunities on the power play. And the Avalanche have just been so static. The guys, all 5 guys are just standing still on the power play, and that's why it's not working, at least in my opinion.
Yeah, totally. It's just like there's one guy on the Avs that can do it right now, and he's a rookie. That's Bo Byram.
Mm-hmm.
And touching on Bo, the reason that, he's playing so many minutes and he's doing what he's just so consistent. And that's one thing out of rookies you don't see very often, especially rookie defensemen. But yeah, I don't know where I was going with that, but
Here, I'll Zach, I like that you bring up Bo because last podcast we were touching on should it be Devontae's or maybe we should mix in a little bit of Bo. I think after tonight's power play performance, the clear answer to me is that we need Bo and Byram on that first power play unit. Really, like Devontae's, he's shown multiple times this season that he's a top 4 defenseman, and probably on a lot of teams he could be that number 1 power play quarterback. But I think if you have the talent that first unit has, like with McKinnon or Anton and all that, you need someone that can kind of stylistically compare to those guys. And I think, Bo and Byron fits that mold perfectly.
right. And now I remember, especially on the defensive end, there's nobody really as dynamic on the power
Yeah.
play as Gerard and Makar. So it's really hard, to ask like a rookie, like I was saying, Bo, to start cycling the power play and making defensemen get out of position and, just making stellar passes like we see Makar and Gerard do. And, without those two, obviously the power play takes a big hit because they're the quarterbacks of their 2 units.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing, it's like, Billy, you also touched on it, just the entrances of the power plays. That's taken a really big hit, especially on the first unit since Makar has gone down. I think maybe stylistically, Bednar's trying to match Taves with that first unit just because he is maybe, the quickest and the second fastest defenseman on the team. But this the decision making and the elusiveness of Makar really brings that next level of offensive zone entry to that first unit. Even before we got Makar, it was pretty like clear, cut and dry that Barry would bring it back to McKinnon and McKinnon would be the one that brought it into the zone. But now it's like Makar can even like fake the drop back and he can carry it in himself. So that's something that I think is really missing from the top power play unit. I was asking you, Billy, and even some of the other guys that likes to follow the Avs on like if Makar is the most important player on the Avalanche right now. Not necessarily the best, but I do think there is a case to be made. Just his presence on the ice on multiple fashions is really something that the Avs are missing right now.
Yeah, his defensive presence in particular. Like they really lack that physicality in the defensive end and losing players in front of the net, things like that. It really lacks, and you could tell for sure when we got players like McDonald and that other guy that got his ass beat.
Gilbert.
Gilbert, yeah, Gilbert did
Gilbert
that.
and McDonald, dude. Those
Yeah,
three.
Yeah.
Okay,
The one
it's
thing you
fine if
really lose with Makar on the power play is the ability to make that guy miss. That point guy, make Ryan Hartman slide 5 feet the other way, or make Susie go the wrong way and get some open space. Makar can create space by making guys miss up top, and that's something that Devontae's isn't bringing to the table, basically.
I
yeah, their
mean, dude,
skating just doesn't at the same level.
Hmm.
yeah,
There's not many
there
players that are.
Yeah,
no, that's exactly what I was going to say. There's three players on a different level of skating in the entire league. That's McKinnon, McDavid, and McCarr, and we have seen that so far. And luckily, I mean, we're pretty biased here, but in my opinion, those three are the best skaters in the league right now.
I mean,
Um,
I'd put Crosby's edge work in there. Barzell's a pretty damn good skater, but
Explosiveness.
definitely guys that are in that elite tier of just incredible
Okay,
skaters,
that's
and
fair.
not everyone can do that. Which very few teams have a point man that can do that, and that is why the Avalanche, despite maybe not having the greatest systems that we've ever seen out of a team on the power play, we're getting by with Makar, and they aren't really right now.
Yeah, I mean, I agree what you're saying, Billy. But I do think that in terms of explosiveness in the league, McKinnon and McCarr are right up there with the elites.
Definitely.
And it's pretty exciting to have two of them on the team. And I think honestly, Bednar's like system that he has going really fits, the Avs being able to outskate other teams. So I'm
Yeah.
looking forward to having McCarr back this weekend.
And we almost had him back tonight. He was very, very close to suiting up. Got dressed in warm-ups. We saw him even walk out of the tunnel in one of the Avs promo videos, which made it look like he was going to skate. If he's this close tonight, you got to think in 3 days he's all but a lock to be playing at Tahoe.
Yeah.
So that is big because, I mean, I think you could argue that with Cale Makar and Gabe Landeskog, those two in particular, but also Tyson Jost and Sam Girard, all the guys we're missing,
Yeah.
I think we win both of these games. So that it's
Really
definitely
quick,
something.
touching on Tahoe, I think we only play one game at Tahoe and
Yeah,
then we're
we
right
do.
back at Ball Arena. So that's pretty exciting. I
Yeah.
didn't know that until like a couple hours ago.
Yeah, you
yeah.
said on yesterday's pod that we played two there, and I was like, I hadn't heard that yet, so I was a little
I thought
confused.
we
But yeah,
did.
it's just Saturday, and then we're back to Ball Arena on Monday. And there are two games at Tahoe. It's just the
I
other
think
one is the East Coast
it was
game.
my mix up. I think that was my mix up. But so yeah, dude, if we can get a win at Tahoe on Saturday, then that's looking pretty good for us to go 3-1 or
Yeah.
Mhm.
Tahoe's going to be tough, but it's not one that's out of the question for the Avs to sneak out. Like I said yesterday, I do think Tahoe favors Vegas. It's going to be a bit of a slog. The speed is going to be neutralized a bit, but what we've seen in this series so far has been a goaltending battle, and it's been
Yeah.
Fleury has been lights out and Grubauer has been lights out. If that keeps up, it's just going to come down to a bounce, which means the Avs have as good a shot as Vegas. So definitely going to be a very, very interesting and pretty pivotal game in this series.
I like that you just touched on Grubauer because I have a question. Is Grubauer truly elite right now?
Right now,
Like, can we see this sustained?
Marc-Andre Fleury, Philip Grubauer, John Gibson, and ironically Semyon Varlamov are all kind of on a next level. Those guys right now feel like some of the best goalies in the league. I don't think it's necessarily time to start the Grubauer for Vesna hype train, but if he keeps it up, he is playing at that level at this very moment, and he's tied for second, I guess tied for third technically. The top two are tied. So he's got two shutouts so far. Very, very good statistically. Very, very good. Tonight we watched him. Max
Oh
Pacioretty,
my
2 out of
god.
3 goals in the series, had to absolutely snipe him to get anything by, and the other one was just a mad scramble that somehow he lasted till the third or fourth opportunity. So even when
Yeah.
he's getting scored on, Grubauer he's making you work for it. That Pacioretty goal, my God, bar down bar. You don't see that very
Dude,
often.
that's all
You
I'm
only see that in
seeing
the
him right
NHL
now.
because how many players can even shoot a puck hard enough to do that?
Yeah, Grubauer, like what's really been impressive to me is the fact that, just his technical skill. He's not getting sniped very often. You see those two shots from Pacioretty, and those are really just almost unstoppable. I
Yeah.
don't like the one tonight as much because it was a pretty good screen in my opinion. I don't think he really had a good eye on that until it was in the air. But that one last game, that doesn't happen to Grubauer very often. He's getting beat on second opportunities or scrambles in front of the net, which is, another trait of a championship goaltender.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's like looking back on it so far this season, I can't really necessarily pinpoint a goal that's like, oh my God, Grubauer should have definitely had that one.
Hmm.
I
They have
can. It
all
was
been
all
kind
the
of
ones
toss
on
ups.
Hunter Miska where I was like, damn, I wish Grubauer was healthy because he should have had that.
Okay, that's very fair. But kind of circling back to it, how much of this can be sustained? I mean, dude, we heard about it all off season. It's like how much work Grubauer's been putting in, and so far this season, man, he's been our MVP. He
Yeah, that's
has,
fair. Very fair thing to say,
and
especially when the team hasn't been going the whole time. Grubauer has.
Right.
yeah,
As far as the sustainability, still NHL goaltending, so I'm not banking on him playing at this level for the
yeah,
entire season. But what I've seen so far this season, especially after a 2 week break, after taking a couple games off here and there, no matter what, he has still been good. So I really do like the likelihood of Grubauer at the very least establishing himself as a legitimate starter, which we've
yeah,
seen
on a
we've seen
championship
things
team.
of, but we've seen like flashes of, but he hasn't firmly established himself yet, and I feel like it's very likely that that's happening right now. That's what we're witnessing.
Well, I mean, over the last couple of seasons, his downsides have been, in December and January.
Hmm.
So, hopefully, we skipped that little that little part of the
Exactly.
schedule, and he
Yeah.
just
We skipped
turns it
right
on
over
again. So,
his slump, and we're right into his good part of the season, stretch run and
yeah,
playoffs. That's where he's excelled with the Avs when he's been healthy, which has been the other issue. But hey, knock on wood, so far so good at least for Grubauer. Looks like Francouz has absorbed the injuries for the goaltending department so far this season. If he ever comes back, we don't know. Is he this year's Colin Wilson? Who knows? But uh, for the most part,
yeah, dude, he
goaltending has
might
been a
be.
positive for the Avalanche.
Yeah,
Um,
big time positive, but we do need to figure out that backup goaltending situation.
Yeah.
I think I heard on the broadcast that Miska
Yeah,
is
he's on the
just went
COVID
down as
list as
well.
well.
Yeah,
Um,
bro. See, this is a
I want
problem.
to see Werner get into a game. I don't think it happens against
Yeah.
Vegas. I think that's a bit of a bold move. So,
Hmm.
but looking at that next game after Vegas, I believe we've got a little Minnesota makeup game snuck in before the 2 games against Arizona. I would not be surprised to see Adam Werner in the net in that game, which I'm excited for. I like Werner. I want to see him play.
to be honest, if we're going, you just touched on the makeup schedule. I'm kind of impressed that they already snuck in
Hmm.
all of the games that we
There's one
missed.
more. There's one
Because,
against St. Louis they didn't get in yet,
okay,
but we do have 55 games scheduled.
that's still
Hmm.
very impressive. And, on last podcast, I even touched on it that I thought this 3 game break would have been a perfect time for them to squeeze it in. But at this point, I'm not even complaining because they've got, all but one squeezed into the schedule, and it just gives us some more time to get everyone healthy.
Yeah,
By Saturday, I'm fully expecting at least, Jost, uh, McCarr, who am I missing here? G, and maybe
Landeskog.
even Landy back.
Everyone.
Okay, yeah. I was a little bit slow there, but still, I mean, dude, we're gonna maybe see the healthiest the Avs have been in a long time on Saturday. Hopefully, crossing my fingers,
Yeah,
But
it could happen. And I was looking at the schedule. You bring up that the 3 game break made a lot of sense. I was curious too, so I looked, and Thursday would be very perfect because it's right in between. All 3 teams we would
yeah,
need to reschedule against are playing on Thursday. So that
okay,
appears to be the reason that the NHL couldn't sneak one in there. Um, I do agree, though. Nice to have them all scheduled. It's gonna be a slog. This
it
3 game
is.
break is our last one now. We don't have many more. We don't. They brought up on the broadcast no more practice specific days. You're basically on every other day from Saturday through April. So this is going to be a grind.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if we see a couple more injuries, but we got to hope
Yeah,
for the best, and hopefully the boys can stay healthy, stay rested, and take care of some of these games like they did tonight. Get some big wins against the teams that we're competing with.
yeah. I mean, yeah, and another thing is just hopefully the NFL can try to figure out this COVID situation because that's the thing that's
Mm-hmm.
really been hampering teams. You know, they put in some protocols, some adjustments. So far, maybe it's looking like it's working. Question mark. I don't really know because there hasn't been too many teams that have, been having to postpone after that pretty big outbreak that
Yeah.
happened.
And this is a
Yeah.
trend I've noticed across all of the sports. That first half of the season, a lot of teams got COVID. Even looking at the NBA, the first 2 weeks were the most difficult. If you look at the NFL, after week 10, there weren't really any more COVID cases. I think the NHL's having that same issue, that startup. Once you start bringing
Yeah,
everyone together, you're going to get a big spike in COVID at the beginning, and then hopefully, as time goes on,
yeah,
they start to nail down those protocols a little bit more, a little bit of immunity because a lot of the guys have already had it, so that's going to help slow the turn of like how many more cases of COVID
yeah.
can the New Jersey Devils get, right? Like they already got it, so I think that
Okay,
as the
but
season goes on, things will continue to get better on that front.
that's a really good point. But going on protocol doesn't necessarily mean that they all have COVID.
True.
So
But a
that's
lot of
just
them
something
did. A
that
lot
we
of
have
them
to
have come
bring
out
up.
and said that they had it.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
know
So
Jack
that's just
Hughes and
something
Mackenzie Blackwood at the very least.
okay, yeah, but we also don't know anything about the abs because a lower body injury can be anything from, a stub toe to a broken femur. So,
True.
so we don't necessarily know that. But I'm just you did bring up a good point, Billy. It's kind of just a bit of a trial and error. Going outside of the bubble, there's expected to be things like this happen. Um, and something that Zach brought up tonight, you know, I'm hoping by the time playoffs get around, we could see some fans in the stadiums.
Yes.
I'm I
Yes.
am would not be surprised to see that happen at all. I think the vaccine is rolling out now. We don't know all the details of how perfect it will be, if it will solve all our problems or not, but there's a very real chance that I don't want to jinx us, but we might be living normal life here soon. And fans in the stands in playoffs would be incredible, and we're all going to hope for it, but at the same time, we're going to make sure we're safe, and we're not going to push for it if it isn't safe, but I have a good feeling, guys. I have a good feeling.
Yeah,
Yeah.
especially this year. Could you just imagine the energy inside the
Oh,
arena?
Oh,
Oh my
yeah.
God. It would be amazing. I really hope.
it would,
I really hope.
ticket sales would spike through the roof
Oh,
for
Yeah.
everyone other
absolutely.
than the
Those
Rockies.
first few games that everyone can go back.
Billy didn't listen to
Oh,
me.
I was. What'd you say?
I said ticket sales will spike for everyone other than the Rockies.
That's
Yeah,
true.
true.
Just a slight diss because I hope everyone just doesn't watch the Rockies this year.
Yeah,
I
boycott.
think you
We're
might
not
get
a
your
Rockies
wish.
podcast though.
The Rockies are going to be hard to watch. One day the Rockies will be good again. But guys, it's time to
Nope.
get this back towards our hype cast mode because we just won 3-2 in a crazy exciting game, and we haven't even had enough energy in this pod. So let's talk about it. Let's go goal by goal. Let's start with McKinnon and Rantanen just being elite, having elite chemistry, just being crazy good players. McKinnon's little cut across, Rantanen with the perfect feed to the one spot where McKinnon can snipe, and William Karlsson is out of position and can't quite get back. I loved that goal. The Avalanche were absolutely dominant at 5-on-5 in the first period, and that was the best example because that was the goal. But right when they scored that, it started to look like the Avalanche might just run away with this one.
Yeah, they came out strong too with that amazing chance right
Mm-hmm.
in the beginning. And yeah, the eliteness of those two players, like you said, McKinnon's ability to find the open ice on almost any given play really is amazing and so much fun to watch. Yeah, that was an amazing goal for sure.
Bro, I'm just hoping that goal will kind of, expel McKinnon from his goal scoring demons.
Yeah.
Right. I mean,
I
he should have
mean,
had at least two tonight. He got absolutely
dude,
robbed.
oh
Yes, he
my
did.
God. Like the one in the third period when he was just middle slot, like that is his prime spot. And I told Zach, I was like, dude, there's not one player in the world right now that I'd rather take that shot.
Yeah.
And
So
it
close.
just it, I think it's going to start coming.
Oh yeah.
Also on the altitude broadcast, they brought up, the West is the lowest scoring division in the league right now.
Hmm.
I think the Avs might be able to do a little bit, do a little bit about that because from what we've seen, they can absolutely start pouring on the goals,
Yeah.
especially when we get everyone healthy and if we start getting McKinnon and McCarr rolling again, then it's going to
Right.
start coming.
There's been so
Well,
many
I
one
hate to say
nothing
it.
games in this division, I think, and that's why it's
Right.
so low scoring. And that I think that trend's
Yeah.
going to continue, but the Avalanche might score a few more goals than they have so far. Some of the guys have some really low shooting percentages that you do expect to come back up, and eventually that's going to happen. But I don't know about you guys. Like, I like watching high scoring hockey, but the perfect game, the most exciting game for me, is these like slogfests where you just see save after save, chance after chance, and it just comes down to the wire. I really like watching games like this. So hey, I don't hate it. I'm enjoying myself this season.
Right. And those games can be high scoring games too. It could be 5-5
Yeah.
and they're trading chances, which is awesome as well.
That's my favorite.
Man, a one
I
nothing
like
game
watching
I enjoy
goals.
though. I might be in the minority there. I
Oh,
enjoy a good one
if we
nothing game.
win, if we win, fine.
True.
If we lose, then oh my God, it was like last podcast, dude. We had nothing to talk about. It was the most low energy podcast of all time.
True. But
Yeah.
I enjoyed watching it until Vegas scored, you know? I like I like
Yeah,
those defensive battles. I really like
I mean,
goaltending. I don't know. I enjoy it. I like a shootout too. Don't get me wrong. I just like hockey, I
I
think.
like.
I think that's what I
Oh my
like.
God, yeah, I like a shootout when it's really only the Avs doing the shooting.
So
That's my
like the
favorite
St.
type
Louis
of game.
game, that one.
Yeah, I like an 8-0 win a lot.
Yeah.
I
So
like those.
that's my favorite.
But in an 8-0 win, I'm spending more time texting Marshall in the third period than I am actually watching the game because I've completely tuned out and I'm just waiting for them to score again.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. But no, like tonight's game, that was really exciting.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Especially the fact that we were able to, pull out a win without them getting a point. Because, dude, we're right back in this race. Especially if we can win it, the next two games. Holy crap, Vegas is going to be on their heels.
Yes.
And honestly, I think St. Louis, screw
The
them.
way they've played against
Yeah.
Phoenix, I'm not convinced that they're on Colorado and Vegas's level.
Arizona.
No, they're definitely
Oh, I'm sorry,
overperforming.
Arizona.
Oh, you called them
I did,
Phoenix.
I did. I will never stop doing that. I'm gonna be 60 years old and still call them the Phoenix Coyotes if they haven't moved by then. Which, let's be honest, they will have moved by then. But
Yeah, they're going to Houston.
Yeah.
I do still think St. Louis is like pretty clearly the third best team in the division, but I think it's pretty
Yeah.
clearly third, and that's where they're
Yeah,
at right now.
I agree. I'm just looking forward to how this West standing continues to evolve as the season goes along. Because yeah, I do think St. Louis ends up third. But I do think it's going to be a bloodbath between Colorado and Vegas.
It's gonna
Hey,
be
we
fun.
did see a fight though.
We did. Dennis
Yeah.
Gilbert. He got his ass kicked, as Zach said. I don't think
Hey.
he totally got his ass kicked. He got a couple
Yeah,
good
he got a
punches
few
in
good
there,
punches in
but
there.
he lost. He lost that fight.
Okay, when I
I
was
say he got his ass kicked because he was bleeding.
Yeah.
He was bleeding in the box. That's why I say that.
hey, okay, but so like I missed the first half of the first period because I was driving home from work and I was listening to McGahee on the radio and McGahee made it sound like Gilbert was totally kicking his ass. Like he's like right by Gilbert, right by Gilbert. I was like, dude, fuck yeah. And then Billy texts me, he's like, he kind of got his ass kicked. I was like, what do you mean?
Yeah, he put in a good 3 good right hooks, and then he was like this for the rest of it. He was just holding his head back, hiding, and then he got a couple bad hits. I liked it though. I like the energy, especially a player like that. We can afford you to
Well,
have 5 minutes in the box, and I think he knows that. Just
Yeah.
a good little
well,
good hockey player.
but then after the fight, McGahee goes, "Oh, so the Avs looking for some toughness? Well, here you go." I was like, "Fuck yeah!"
They brought it, I guess.
But
Oh,
They
I
brought a
man.
totally
little bit
thought
of
he
it.
won that fight, and I saw
He
the
must
replay.
have
I was
been
like,
so hyped.
"Oh, he probably." Dude, McGahee though, it's like a pass in the neutral zone sounds like a goal. I
With a
love
screaming at the
McGahee.
top of his lungs.
Yeah, I love McGahee, but dude, it's like you can never actually understand what's going on in the game.
Yeah, he's very excited anytime the Avs do anything,
Yeah,
and I don't think I could ever listen to a McGahee broadcast and not think that the Avs were the better team in the game, just because it
yeah.
always sounds so much more exciting when the Avs are doing things. But that was a fun one.
But I I do like
I do
McGahee.
too.
I think he's the perfect dude. Mosier was like my favorite ever. Um, but I think McGahee's a really good replacement.
Definitely. All right, guys, let's talk about more goals. Let's talk about the Sod goal, which we've touched on a little bit. That pass was incredible. Like, Donskoy feathered that thing. And it was such a good pass. It was also such a good play because it was a great pass that got Sod into some space, but Sod wasn't exactly in scoring position when he caught it. He was still in the corner below the circle, and he had to make that nice cut. Fleury probably should have poke checked him, but he didn't. And then the little stick, he got kind of caught with Martinez and snuck it through the 5 hole. Very, very good play. Great to see the second line rolling, which every time the second
Yeah.
line's rolling, we say this because we are very happy to see the second line rolling. That is what makes the Avalanche a good team. When the second line is being the second line, being one of the league's better second lines, that is why the Avalanche are winning games, and that is what separates a 1 seed from an 8 seed.
Yeah, really, it's the second and the fourth line when they're both absolutely buzzing.
Mm-hmm.
What makes it
Yeah.
possible for McKinnon and Rantanen and Landeskog to do their thing, and we've touched on that multiple times. It's just really important that the whole team is working, as a team.
Yeah, Zach, that's a great point because on most nights we know what we will be getting from the first line, and we know
Mhm.
what we will be getting from the third line. But the third line, imagine if we can start getting them rolling.
Would be
Because
nice.
I bring up that point with the fact that like the third line has been abysmal this season.
Yeah,
Just I'm not trying to necessarily like diminish the Avs and what they did tonight, but dude, if this team can go like rolling 1 through 4, having the second, third, and fourth line roll like we know that they can, then my God, this team's going to be really hard to stop come postseason.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Nichushkin and Comfer, I think, have maybe been two of the bigger disappointments. Nichushkin, to his credit, has still been elite defensively. Hasn't really brought the
Yeah.
offense this year, which I think we all knew was a possibility. Little disappointing to
Mhm.
see, and hopefully he still has a chance to pick it up. JT Comfer kind of continues to disappoint. He's just kind of a ghost again, which, I mean, at least he wasn't turning the puck over constantly like he has been at times, so that was a plus.
Yeah.
It'll be really nice to get the
Right.
fourth line back together as well. I don't like watching Jason Megna and Sheldon Dries. I'm sorry, it's not as fun. I'd
Nope.
much rather watch Jostin Calvert. It's just better.
Yeah, and you
Yeah.
could see against a team like Vegas, Logan O'Connor getting absolutely
Yeah,
dominated, honestly.
He
he
did,
And
was
dude.
it's kind of
manhandled.
it was unfortunate to see because I like Logan
Yeah.
O'Connor, but I know
I
Calvert would have absolutely not had that happen to him.
yeah. That is disappointing. Zach, that's a good point because like LOC, he can bring the energy that Calvert, brings, but just not necessarily to the same extent. Zach, I know a long time ago you brought up the fact that it's like, dude, did he used to be a superstar in like minor hockey or something? Because he has some skill.
Yeah,
He
he
has some
had to have
skill.
been, bro.
And yes,
Yeah.
the answer
So
is if you're in the NHL, you were a superstar at some point, at some level.
yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely, but to a different
Yeah.
extent that Jason Magna or Sheldon Dries,
right.
like Calvert still though, it's like you'll see him make some moves. It's like, dude, what is going on here? He looks like Nathan McKinnon light,
Wasn't Jason Megna
but
nasty in college?
Oh
Probably.
God. Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, dude, they're perfectly fine, like fourth liners on
Mhm.
most teams, but the ads, especially the last couple of years, have relied on the grittiness of the fourth line, and really, they're the one that starts, you know, driving the offense for Nathan McKinnon and company. So it's going to be really interesting to see Calvert come back because, bro, are we going to see Calvert come back on Saturday too?
Maybe. It's
Oh,
very
oh,
possible.
I I know
He's been
he's
skating.
been skating,
So he
so
feels close. We don't necessarily know how close. I did pull it up because I was curious. I remember this because he was always in the conversation when people brought up Alex Newhook's freshman year at BC. They're like, Tyson Jost was nasty his freshman year too, and they're like a group of like 8 guys who had been that good, and all of them were elite except for 2, and that was Tyson Jost and Jason Megna. His freshman year at Nebraska Omaha, 38 games, and he had put up 31 points. So he was actually nasty in college.
he was
yeah.
pretty good. That's like,
That's for a
yeah,
freshman, as an
bro.
18-year-old freshman for Nebraska.
Who was the who was the Minnesota Duluth guy that we had a couple of years ago? I can't remember his name. Um, but he was the captain of Duluth when they won the national championship, and
Oh,
they also lost to DU.
I can't
I can't
remember.
remember
I
his
know
name right now. It's
I've
pissing
got
me
it in my
off.
head. I can't quite remember, but you're right. Hey, Jim in the chat, that was a big dub. And guys, we have one more goal to talk about because Kadri scored with 40 seconds left in the game, and it was crazy. And I jumped out of my chair. It was
Yeah,
it has to
I
remind
turned
you of
off
the
my
buzzer
phone.
beater in St. Louis, right? Just especially it was also kind of a gritty goal around the net, a couple chances, pucks bouncing everywhere. Kadri finds it and gets it in, and it was a little bit nicer. It was kind of to the back bar, which was kind of sick. But
Yeah, that was
Kadri
sweet.
just apparently he just has that clutch gene because
Mhm.
final minute game winning goals are what he's going to be remembered for in this little era of Colorado hockey.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
definitely. What we've mentioned it so many times how big that was not to go to overtime, and wow, yeah,
I
Nas
mean,
he did it for us. That's what we needed, and he got it done.
Not only does he
these are the kind
guarantee
of
us that extra point,
plays.
he steals one from Vegas.
Yeah, and that's
Yeah,
even bigger, really.
these are the kind of plays that build championship rosters. And we saw a couple of really clutch goals from our second line tonight. Kadri and Saad both picking up really big goals. Um, Kadri's a bit of a beauty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He really is. He's a bit because, like you said, Billy, he does have that clutch factor. We've seen it time and time again. And so far this season, really, we haven't seen the best out of Nas. But when we need him the most, he's there. He will get us that goal that really brings us over the top in the games. So if we can just see him play consistently, and I I think that second line is dynamic again. So
Hmm.
Nas has the ability to be a truly special player when he's on. We
yeah,
saw it in the playoffs last year for his stretch run. He is a hot and cold player. The reason he is so good as a 2C is because even when he's cold, he's still a good second line center. It's just that when Nas is hot, he's as good as almost any center in the league. He can skate with anyone, he can score with anyone, and he is a legitimate producer, a legitimate play driver. Naz at his best has been incredible, and been playing his best hockey with the Avs in particular. He's one of those guys that every team that he's not playing on hates him. So when he was in Toronto, I don't think any of us were like, "Oh yeah, I love Nazem Kadri." I think we were all kind of on him, but getting to see him play on your team, it's just a different side of things, and you truly appreciate both how good of player he is and some of the extracurriculars that he can bring to the table in a good way at times when he doesn't go too far. And with the Avs, he hasn't gone too far yet, so we can all still
yeah,
love him
that's
for
what I
that.
was gonna ask. Has he really been
No.
that type of player for the
He's
Avs?
been a
I
good
don't know.
enforcer when we've needed him to. We saw him beat a suspension into a guy last year against the Sharks, but we we haven't we haven't seen him go too far. We haven't seen him get suspended. We haven't
which
seen
is
him
good.
take
Yeah,
many stupid penalties. Every player takes stupid penalties once in a while, but we haven't seen Kadri take himself out of the game when we absolutely needed him to not do that. So Kadri has been better than expected, honestly, for the Avs. Which, hey, great to see it. Really feeling like a
yeah.
dub, that trade. Tyson Berry not even in
Yeah.
Toronto anymore.
Oh man,
I love
yeah,
Tyson Berry, but
no question.
he hasn't quite been the same outside of Colorado. Picking up a little bit in Edmonton. We're still rooting for the guy. Love Tyson Berry, but
Yeah, because he gets to play with McDavid and
yeah,
Yeah.
Draisaitl in the North Division. The North Division is going to break scoring records in a
it's
56-game
insane.
season.
It's like if you mix, you need to shuffle up the North and the West because all the grinded out teams are in the West right now. Other than you got a couple. You got the
Yeah,
Islanders, you got the Stars, you got Columbus, but a lot of those grinded out teams are in the West, and all of the high scoring teams are all in the North. Toronto, Montreal, Edmonton, everyone who scores goals, even Vancouver is at their best when they're scoring goals. All those teams, uh, every game is a
because
shootout
they
in the
all
North.
don't have
Yeah,
defense.
Winnipeg. it's
Yeah,
they
Yeah.
don't they score. They're basically Tampa Bay
it's
and
an inline
Colorado are the
league.
other two teams in the league that I feel like compete with those teams offensively. And the reason Colorado and Tampa Bay are much better is because they also have defense. But the
Mhm.
North Division is it's
Dude,
just
which is why I think
incredible
Toronto's a
structure.
fraud still. I
Ooh.
I
Yeah,
I
I
they
agree.
do
are.
though. I
They
do though.
are.
I think the one team that stylistically compares to the rest of the league in the North Division is Montreal.
Yeah.
And
Hmm.
I am the one that's going to eat my words because I thought they were going to miss the playoffs. But all around game and depth wise, Montreal is the team to be
Yeah.
scared of out of the North Division.
Zach, I think you and I both picked them as our dark horse
Yeah.
to win that
Yeah,
division,
you did.
and
We definitely called
they
it.
are they're very good. I love Nick Suzuki. Tyler Toffoli is going to cool off, right? Having 10 goals but scoring 8 of them against one team that you played for last year is definitely a red flag that he's going to cool off to an extent.
Yeah.
But Drouin's playing better.
Oh, dude,
Anderson,
um,
they're good. They're a good team.
another thing with that team though is Carey Price hasn't been that terrific.
Yeah, if he
If he
gets it
can
going,
start heating up a bit, yeah.
Montreal's
Like,
something. Don't
yeah,
sleep on them.
Montreal is the team that is the most, scary to me in the North. And I'm sorry, Toronto. I don't know. We probably have no Toronto fans that listen to our podcast, but I'm not sold on them. They play really well in the North Division because no one else plays defense. But once it starts getting to that playoff style, Montreal is the best team in that division, and I don't even think it's close.
Toronto is
Mhm.
not going to beat Vegas. I'll tell you that right now. I I obviously would pick Colorado to beat Toronto, but I think they would have a slightly better chance to beat Colorado just stylistically. Both teams would want the offensive firepower, and that gives Toronto a
Yeah.
shot. Toronto would not beat Vegas in a playoff series. I'll say that right now. I might eat my words if that ends up becoming a thing, but I firmly believe that
I've already eaten my words.
Toronto would be blown out by Vegas in a playoff series. Maybe not blown out on the
And I,
scoreboard, but like I don't think that game would go. I don't think that series would go 7 games. I think it'd be a fiver or a sixer, maybe even a sweep.
well, I also believe that I picked Vancouver to win or to make the playoffs. So
Yeah, but that's just because of your man
looking
crush
great.
on Pedersen. So we'll let
Yeah,
it
that's
slide.
true. But dude, yeah, I guess.
All right, guys. I want to do a comment question for our viewers. Of the 3 goals the Avalanche scored today, I thought all of them were some pretty nasty goals. McKinnon and Rantanen with theirs, Saad with his nice little feed from Donskoy, and then Kadri, the buzzer beater. Tell us in the comments whether it's the live comments right now on YouTube or that Twitch chat, or if you're commenting later on, help us drive some interactions because that's what this is really about. But but tell us which of the 3 goals did you think was the best from the Avs, both in importance, which probably the Kadri goal, but also just like which one was the most fun to watch? Which one was the best highlight reel goal? And Marshall and Zach, I'll let you go ahead and answer this question as well. Which one was your favorite?
I'll go with a little bit. I'll go with the second one just because I think we didn't even touch on it. I think Bo made a fantastic play getting the puck to Donskoy in the
Yeah.
first place. And, you know, Saad, we touched on it. The second line is so important. So I'll go with the second goal for the Avalanche tonight.
I like that. I definitely like that. All three were pretty exciting, but I'm just gonna go with McKinnon. I love McKinnon a lot,
Yeah.
and I love I love the fact that he broke his, you know, the bit of the monkey off of his back, and I'm
Mhm.
hoping that that will be the goal that starts helping to ignite his goal scoring prowess in the future here.
Yeah, he's getting the points done, so I like that. But it would be nice to see him get a few more goals, and I think that he will.
Well, and it's kind of interesting because when both McKinnon and Rantanen are picking up points, it's kind of been a bit of the opposite this season. Rantanen's getting the goals and Mac has been getting the assists. So maybe we can flop that a little bit. They can start sharing the point totals a little some
Yeah.
Mhm.
some. But
Although, if you put him on a
hey,
line with Rantanen and Burakovsky like they did tonight, I think he's going to get more assists than goals by quite a bit because those are some shooters right there.
yeah.
All right,
Mhm.
But I
I'll
have
make sure we keep the whole spread here, and I'll go with Kadri's goal as my favorite, just because I love the buzzer beater
yeah.
and I love the right off the face-off goal, the nice little work in front. I liked it. Some real nice goals from the Avs tonight in a real nice win.
That
Mhm.
was definitely the most grindy goal.
Yeah.
But okay, I have a question really quick, and I don't know if there's an answer to this. Is Gerard's is Gerard Iron Man streak over because of COVID?
Yes,
Yeah.
that is correct.
Yeah.
That's a bit of a disappointment to me.
Yeah. It's
Yeah,
sad.
it sucks, but like at the end of the day, it doesn't really mean anything.
Yeah,
It's just
but dude,
it sucks. He could have got to number
he
one.
hasn't missed ever since he got traded to us. He hasn't missed a game.
Yeah. Well, a regular
Yeah.
season game. He has been hurt multiple times in the playoffs.
Okay,
but
okay, that's fair. Okay, fair.
yeah, I mean,
I'll
let's be
save some
we're
questions
okay
for
with this. We
next
got
time.
Gerard signed long term. Let's never miss a game again, and he's good to go to just keep that streak up. So
There we go.
yeah,
Dude, if we my last comment, if we get Gerard, McCarr, Landy, Calvert, these boys back for Saturday, Vegas is in for
yeah.
something.
I
I'm
mean,
Yeah.
predicting it right now.
we're playing
Yeah.
without a couple really good players right now, and in this series so far, Colorado has looked like the better team. I don't know that Vegas has played their best hockey, so I will say that.
Not in the second period, though.
Yeah, in the second periods of both games, honestly, the Avs have not been at their best, but the Avs have looked like the better team, at least in my opinion, in both games. It's been close, but the Avs have looked better to me, and add in a couple more of our star players. I think Colorado's the best team in this
Smell ya.
division, and I say that with
Mhm.
absolutely no bias whatsoever. I am an unbiased
None.
third party. I have nothing, no ties to either side. I do not. I'm not on an Avalanche podcast. This is nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree though. But honestly, looking like outside of whoever is an Avalanche or Vegas fan, who wouldn't agree with you though, or
I don't
with
know.
us maybe?
I got some roommates who are who like to say Vegas, but I don't know how much of it is they actually like Vegas better, or how much of it is they don't want me to they want me to shut up about the apps. So I think it's a
Yeah,
little
well, they
column A,
can
a little
just
column B. But I like Jim's point in the chat. Taves could also stand to get a step it up a little bit. He maybe doesn't look as good as he was pre-injury. Maybe he's still working his way back into form a little bit. I think he's been good since then, but
yeah.
he hasn't been what we saw in the beginning of the year, like that dynamic playmaking defenseman on par with your Gerards and your Byroms, and no one's on par with your Makar, but fit into that
I
group.
think I think he's just missing his running mates.
Yeah, he plays real well
Yeah,
That's
with
I
that's
would
Gerard.
kind
agree
of
with that.
yeah. I think it's that's kind of the conclusion of the Avs defense the last couple of games. It's just everything's been kind of shuffled around, and
Mm-hmm.
we just need to get some sort of resemblance back once we get Makar and Gerard back.
Yeah,
So
and
Mhm.
that's not to say
it will
guys have
come
been
again.
bad. I've been really impressed with
No,
McDonald. Ryan Graves is a guy that I was pretty low on coming into the season. I really like what I've seen from Ryan Graves so far, and tonight was
the
another
last couple
good
of
game from
games.
him. I like Ryan Graves. I think he's a good player. Connor Timmins
Yeah,
wasn't perfect last night, but he was, I thought, better tonight. The Avs have had guys fill in very, very well. The problem is that they're just
Yeah,
not
I agree.
Makar. They're not Makar. They're not Gerard, and not many players are. So the Avs defense obviously is taking a hit, but to some of these guys' credit, I feel like they have been better than we typically would have expected of a team missing arguably your two best defensemen and
I
Eric
mean, to
Johnson.
be honest, yeah, exactly. To be honest, the defense that we're rolling without right now is probably better than like the 2012, 2013
It'd be the
defense
best.
when we won the
It'd be the
division.
best defense in the North.
What the? Just because of Byram, really.
Yeah.
And honestly, like I have some questions about Byram. Not bad questions, but I'm gonna save them for the next pod.
Yeah, we've got a lot
Like
of time to talk about
intriguing
Byram, so I
questions.
like that. We are about ready to close this one out, going a little longer than normal, but still a good length. Before we do, Marshall, Zach, any last things you guys want to add in here?
No. Gods
Huge
go.
win. Huge win.
Big win, and big regulation win, which we've said it
Yeah.
8 times on this podcast, but that's because it's important. Regulation wins against the number one team that we are competing for this division with are huge, and this one, a huge win. So thank you to all our viewers. I hope you guys had as much fun watching this game as we did. I hope you are as excited as we are to come away with a big win. And I hope that you leave a like on this video because it really helps us grow. Leave a comment after this VOD is posted. Those are really the best thing for us, kind of driving some engagement, helps us get these podcasts out to more people, help us grow this channel, and help us keep making podcasts. We really enjoy doing this. And if you're watching this on Twitch, keep doing that because I'm liking this. I'm liking putting us out on Twitch a little bit. It's fun and it's new, so I like it. If you're watching this anywhere else, we appreciate you as well. We appreciate all our listeners, all our viewers, wherever you listen, but check us out live because it's the best. That's all we've got for you today. Thank you, and we will see you, I guess, on Saturday.